My name is Tobin Meyer. I'm the Chief Criminal Deputy for the Skagit County Sheriff's Office, and one of the hats that I wear is Commander for our Skagit County Interlocal Drug Enforcement Unit. And with me today, but off camera, is Detective Sergeant Chris Keating. He is our daily operations supervisor for the task force, and so he'll pipe in here and there throughout the presentation. So we're here today to present on illicit fentanyl trends in Skagit County through the eyes of the task force, so you can kind of understand what we're seeing at some of the mid and upper level distribution levels of fentanyl in and around Skagit County. So we'll pop into the presentation real quick. So this just a little bit on the drug task force and what we do. So we're an interlocal drug task force, and we're made up of several local law enforcement agencies, and you can see there are some of our partner agencies, including Burlington, Mount Vernon, Anacortes, and the like. And we also have federal partners that are on the task force with us. And we really focus on dismantling mid to upper level drug trafficking organizations impacting Skagit County. We do partner with other drug task forces in the state, and there's around 17 of them currently, and some of them are local, state, and federal task forces, and we work with them to dismantle very large organizations impacting both the North Puget Sound region and the state of Washington. One of the things we don't focus on is individual or end user enforcement. So we really do focus on that mid to upper level, really the supply chain into our region. That's what we're looking to impact. So I'm sure most people know this, but just to cover all of our bases, fentanyl is a synthetic opioid. It's similar to morphine. It is about 100 times more potent. Illicit fentanyl is primarily manufactured in foreign clandestine labs, and it's smuggled into the United States from, for our region, generally from Mexico, and then is distributed across the country and sold on the illegal drug market. Fentanyl, we are seeing it mixed with other illicit drugs to increase the potency of those drugs. So that can be heroin, cocaine. Some task forces are even seeing it mixed in with marijuana. We're primarily seeing it in powder form or pressed into counterfeit pills like Perk 30 pills, like you see there in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And here's how it may appear out on the street. These are photos from some of our purchases, and one of the things to note is the different types of pills. So we do see Xanny bars, these rectangular pills. We see a lot of different color variations of counterfeit Perk 30 pills, and that's kind of a dead giveaway that we're dealing with counterfeit pills is the color variations, the poor quality of any kind of a stamp into the pills and those things. And then for the first time earlier in 2021, we made a purchase and eventual arrest on delivery of pure powder fentanyl. And that's kind of what it looks like there in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And that was fairly alarming to us as a task force to see that in pure powder form being distributed. We knew it was around, but we're starting to see it more commonly, and that's raising some alarm bells for us. So producing illicit fentanyl is not an exact science. We like to use the cookie dough analogy where if you get any more than one cookie dough in your cookie, that could be a lethal dose. And a lethal dose of fentanyl is around 2 milligrams. And that's highlighted in that picture on the left on the penny. What you see there, the white powder is about 2 milligrams, and that's a lethal dose or potential lethal dose of fentanyl. The DA has did a recent analysis of a large quantity of illicit fentanyl pills and found that the amount of fentanyl each pill ranged from about 0.02 to 5.1, or almost over twice the lethal dose of fentanyl per tablet. And over 42% of their pills tested contained at least 2 milligrams or a fatal dose of fentanyl. So Drug trafficking organizations typically distribute fentanyl by the kilogram. This is generally what we're dealing with is our kilograms at the Drug Task Force, and 1 kilogram of fentanyl is potentially could potentially kill up to 500,000 people. So we take this very seriously. Here's some historical data on illicit fentanyl flow into the United States. This is historical and it is changing or has changed slightly from what you see here on the screen, but generally, from a historical perspective, we've seen fentanyl flow into the United States via China. So China will distribute fentanyl, and now more commonly the precursors to fentanyl, to the Mexican cartels, who have some fairly sophisticated labs now, chemistry labs, to produce fentanyl and ship that up into our region. That's what we're seeing here up along the West Coast and specifically into Skagit County. The cartel that we deal with most is the Sinaloa cartel, and that's kind of par for the course. And as they become more efficient in their supply chain and less reliant on China for some of these supplies, we're seeing an increase in the supply into our region. Anything else to add on that?
Well, I just want to comment on that. We like to say that we're about 2 phone calls away from the supplier in Mexico. We make 1 phone call to one guy, that guy makes another call, and it goes directly south. And so the order is placed in Mexico and facilitated up here. So we use the term that we're about 2 phone calls away.
And that's generally directly with the Sinaloa cartel or like organization. So specific to Skagit County, here's some historical trends. 2017, we started to see limited quantities of counterfeit Perk 30 pills containing fentanyl just via our normal drug routes, gang cartel, Mexican border. And the average wholesale price, and when I say wholesale price, we're buying at quantity at the task force, so we buy a large quantity and try to work our way up into these organizations. And that wholesale price at quantity was around $30 per pill. Then in 2019 to 2020, we saw the wholesale prices begin to drop as supply chains streamlined and became less reliant on Chinese suppliers, and those prices dropped to about $10 to $20 per pill. And then last year, we saw wholesale prices drop again to about $4 to $6 per pill, and at the tail end of last year. We were aware that some of our local task forces were purchasing at about $2.50 per pill, and that's just a supply and demand thing. So more supply that there is on the street, we've got a lower wholesale price from our mid to upper level suppliers. And this isn't an exact science, but maybe indicative of just how much fentanyl is circulating in and around Skagit County. So for 2017, we didn't have any fentanyl seizures. And then beginning in 2018, the task force seized 100 pills containing fentanyl. In 2019, that increased to 1,000 fentanyl pills seized. 2020, 6,000 fentanyl pills seized, and our year end of year 2021, I need to update this slide, but end of year 2021, we've seized 32,000 fentanyl pills. So the floodgates are open. And just some numbers from our coroner's office, just to give an idea of how this is impacting our community. So beginning in 2017, we had our first fentanyl-related overdose death. And that number had trended up in 2018. And then from our perspective, we suspect that a large educational push plus the distribution of Narcan out into the community actually decreased our fentanyl deaths. And then we saw those numbers increase again in 2020 to 10. And I just checked with the coroner's office this afternoon, and our 2021 numbers put us at 19 fentanyl overdose deaths. And I can safely say that fentanyl is effective end of year 2021, the most deadliest drug in Skagit County, for the first time, surpassing methamphetamine per our coroner's office. And I would consider that trend to intensify over the next 12 to 24 months, as far as we can tell, in terms of supply of fentanyl into the county. Anything else to add?
No, that's pretty accurate. It's only getting worse.
So short and sweet. I'm happy to take any questions. I appreciate you all having us today, and we're certainly happy to present on any data that we have. We're obviously the enforcement end of the equation, like I think Liz had mentioned, or somebody had mentioned from HIDA, I think. So happy to take any questions.